me live on the phone. I welcome Sandy Neck Beach Park Manager Nina Coleman. Good morning, Nina.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you today?
Fantastic, thank you.
So it's been a couple of busy days out there at Sandy Neck. Nina, talk to me a little bit about the turtle strandings that we've been seeing in the past couple of days.
Well, the last few days have been really banner days for turtle stranding numbers. We had eight turtles on, let's see, not yesterday, but Wednesday, and then yesterday another 2 turtles. So that's really unusual, and that was Cape-wide. They were seeing big numbers everywhere. So the variables came together. The good news is, particularly on Wednesday, it was mild enough so most of the animals that were pulled out of the waters or off our beaches were in really good shape.
That's good. That certainly is good. And so were all of them able to be kind of rescued and taken off site to the New England Aquarium?
Yeah, what we had on Wednesday was oddly 2 loggerheads, which are the big guys. One was probably 80 pounds and one was probably 60 pounds, and both of those animals were in really good shape. And then all our Ridleys, our 6 Ridleys that we took off that day as well, which were the smaller turtles, the juveniles. Those were all kicking and moving and looking good as well. Unfortunately, and it was really windy on Wednesday, which is what pushed them up onto the beach. Unfortunately, Thursday, we had a midnight tide, high tide, and then it did get really cold. So the 2 animals we pulled off on Thursday were questionable, but still, that's a really good percentage, and I understand that the Wednesday shipment is doing very well.
Wonderful. So let's go back and talk a little bit about the loggerheads, because those are the larger turtles, and you said 80 pounds. One of those guys was 80 pounds?
I would say 80.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big one, the biggest one we've gotten. So far this year, we've had the year in total has been banner. So we've had 30 Ridleys taken off of Sandy Neck alone, 1 green turtle, and 3 loggerheads. Now, I've been here, this is my 10th winter, and I've never had a loggerhead. So
really?
3 is just, it's crazy.
Well, right, to go from 0 to 3, certainly unbelievable. Any ideas to what might be causing this? I mean, as you say, a banner a year, are there any perhaps weather conditions, tide conditions? Was it the couple of storms we had earlier this year? Is there any way to tell at this stage in the game what might be causing these strandings?
Yeah, it's definitely all of those variables coming together. You know, everybody's speculating, the scientific community is speculating about all these oddities that are occurring in our oceans. You know, we have all these new shark sightings and increased seals and then these odd turtle strandings. This year there were already Mass Audubon, I think, got 9 green turtles off Cape Cod beaches, and that's a very warm, generally warm area turtle. So, you know, something is amiss. You know, the balances are a little off, and then this year, of course, particularly on Sandy Neck, it's just that north wind. When we have those you know, days that are just hammering us, particularly the nor'easter of a few weeks ago, they're going to end up here.
Exactly, and while certainly it isn't unusual to hear about cold-stunned turtles, I know that around this time of year, you know, it is what they call stranding season, and as you mentioned, we have been seeing them not just here in Barnstable, but up and down the coast along the bay side. So talk to me a little bit, what does cold-stunned mean?
All right, so the turtles, all our sea turtles, of course, migrate to warmer waters for the winter, and what happens with the shape of Cape Cod is, if they're in our bay, they need to go north, get around P-Town, and go south. And particularly with the juveniles, sometimes that doesn't quite equate, or perhaps the animal is already run down. Like we've had injured animals that get stuck in our bay. So then they're in the bay, and of course they're cold-blooded, and suddenly the temperature starts getting lower and lower in the water, and the animals respond to that by becoming slower and slower and less able to even get out, and eventually some of them even try, from what I understand, try to get down in the mud and weather it out, and a big you know, churning northeaster or something like that picks them up. They basically, by that point, act like debris. Like if we have a day where we have a lot of buoys showing up on the beach and junk showing up on the beach, those are the days that the turtles are just floating around sort of inert because they're so cold. And those are the days that we'll also find turtles up in the seaweed. So it's one of those phenomenons. Again, most of the Ridleys, or all of the Ridleys we get, are 2 to 3 year old juveniles. They're the small ones, about the size of a dinner plate. And, you know, it might be part of nature that a certain amount of those get weeded out every year. Why the loggerheads this year is something I haven't had a chance to research. It seems odd that a more mature animal, particularly in large numbers of them, are getting hung up in our Cape Cod Bay and getting cold stunned. That's an interesting question that I don't have an answer for.
Exactly, and I know that you and there's plenty of scientists here on the Cape, I'm sure, that will be working to answer that question. So, of course, many people like to go out and walk on Sandy Neck and all the beautiful beaches here on Cape. What should a person do if they're walking along the beach and encounter one of these creatures?
Yeah, so they'll be in the rack line of the last tide, or actually depends on the beach, but we patrol each of our rack lines, which is like the seaweed line. We're all from Cape Cod, so we probably know what the rack line is, but the line is seaweed from the last tide. So they're more than likely be up in that. Often they're upside down because, again, they're just bobbing around like an inert object. So what you pick up with your eye is the shape and the color. The underbelly is pinkish, grayish, depending on the species. You want to right that animal. It's always better for them to be in the right orientation. You want to call, Sandy Neck, obviously call the gatehouse. If it's on another beach, you want to call your natural resource department. They recommend on cold. Nassau Audubon does not want them picked up and moved. The important thing is that we don't warm them up too quickly. And everybody wants to grab the animal and warm it up. That's human nature. So resist the urge. The important thing is to get the right person out there to collect it. And Mass Audubon suggests staking, so you know where it is, and covering it with seaweed so that it doesn't get damaged by, say, a frost or a wind damage. Obviously, here on Sandy Neck, we just collect them. The staff collects them, but they could end up on other beaches. So on Barnstable beaches, I'd recommend calling the Natural Resource Department immediately and even staying with the animal till we get out there.
Absolutely. And is there any danger in touching a turtle and picking it up? Is there any caution people should take if they do get close to the turtles?
Well, we don't recommend picking up any wild animals. They are docile animals, but they do carry salmonella and other issues like that. So it's important to leave wild animals alone. Again, riding them is good because their breathing is easier for them. Any of these water animals, when they get out of the water, they don't have the buoyancy of the water to hold their bodies up, so everything is harder. And so putting it correctly orientated is just going to make a big difference right there.
Absolutely. So, of course, already, as you mentioned, Nina, it's been a banner year for these turtle strandings, and I'm sure that you will be keeping an eye out for the rest of the winter. About how long does turtle stranding season last, and when does it typically begin?
Yeah. Well, this year, and generally it's like Thanksgiving to Christmas. And, of course, we have some strandings even earlier. That depends on, the water temperature. That's what's going to dictate it. So we start patrolling sort of mid-October for strandings, and then they are at their highest around this time of year. And then right up to Christmas, I'm still going to keep an eyeball out and ride the tide line every time that we can, particularly with the windy days. So the problem is, like I said, now it's starting to get cold, although this morning is mild, but those cold, frosty, need to scrape your window on your car days, those are the days that they're not going to last long out of the water.
Absolutely. Well, Nina, I thank you so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to talk with you, and we will definitely catch up with you later in the season to find out if we've learned more about those loggerheads. Really interesting stuff.
Really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.